In a city where towering skyscrapers cast long shadows on the bustling streets, there lived a man named Arthur Vance. Arthur wasn't just wealthy. He was a titan of industry, a man whose name was synonymous with success. He had built his empire from the ground up, and over time his heart had hardened, insulated by layers of money and power. He saw the world as a chessboard, and people were merely pawns in his game. His favorite pastime was conducting what he called social experiments, cruel tests of character on unsuspecting people, just for his own amusement. One sunny afternoon, Arthur walked into the Gilded Spoon, a restaurant far humbler than his usual five-star haunts. He was looking for a new subject for his latest experiment. His eyes scanned the room and settled on a young black waiter named Leo. Leo moved with a quiet dignity, his smile genuine and his posture weary but unbroken. He looked like the perfect target for Arthur's cynical game. Arthur planned to dangle the prospect of a life-changing tip in front of Leo, only to snatch it away at the last moment. He wanted to see the hope drain from the young man's eyes. It was a cruel, petty game, but it was the only thing that made Arthur feel something anymore. Arthur sat down and flagged Leo over. "Young man," he said, his voice dripping with condescension, "I'm feeling generous today. Provide me with the most impeccable service you can imagine." And this he paused, pulling out a crisp $1,000 bill and placing it on the edge of the table. "It's yours." Leo's eyes widened for a fraction of a second, but he quickly composed himself. $1,000. That was more than his entire month's rent. It was a lifeline. With a polite nod, he said, "I'll do my very best, sir." For the next hour, Leo was a whirlwind of perfect service. He anticipated Arthur's every need before he even voiced it. He described the specials with poetic detail, ensured his water glass was never less than half full, and served the meal with a grace that belonged in a far grander establishment. He did it all with that same, unwavering, gentle smile. Arthur watched, a smirk playing on his lips. The boy was performing beautifully, was making the final, cruel twist all the more satisfying. As Arthur finished his meal, another family was seated nearby. A mother was trying to soothe her crying toddler while her older son, a boy of about 10, looked on with wide, worried eyes. Their clothes were neat but worn, and it was clear this meal was a rare treat. Leo noticed them immediately. He approached their table, knelt down to the toddler's level, and with a soft voice and a few playful gestures, he managed to coax a giggle from the tearful child. He then spoke quietly with the mother, who looked visibly relieved. Arthur watched this interaction, feeling a flicker of annoyance. His waiter was being distracted. But then, he saw Leo walk back to the kitchen and return with a small bowl of ice cream, topped with a single strawberry. He placed it in front of the little boy, who had been watching everything with a quiet sadness. "On the house, little man," Leo whispered. The boy's face lit up with a brilliant, pure joy that seemed to illuminate the entire corner of the restaurant. Something in Arthur stirred. It was an unfamiliar feeling, a warmth spreading through his chest, melting a bit of the ice that had encased his heart for so long. He saw the genuine kindness in Leo's act. There was no audience, no expectation of a reward. It was just pure, unadulterated goodness. He looked from the happy family back to Leo, who was now clearing another table, completely unaware that he was being observed. When Leo returned to Arthur's table, he was ready for the verdict. "Was the service to your satisfaction, sir?" he asked, his voice steady. Arthur looked at the $1,000 bill, then back at Leo. The game he had planned now felt hollow and repulsive. The thought of crushing this young man's spirit suddenly filled him with shame. For the first time in years, Arthur Vance felt small. He cleared his throat. "The service," Arthur began, his voice softer than before, was more than satisfactory. He pushed the $1,000 bill towards Leo. "This is yours. You've earned it." But he didn't stop there. He pulled out his checkbook, an item he hadn't used for a personal gesture in decades. He quickly scribbled, his hand surprisingly steady. He wrote a check for an amount that would, indeed, change Leo's life. He tore it from the book and handed it to the stunned waiter. "I saw what you did for that family," Arthur said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have a kindness that money can't buy." Leo stared at the check, his eyes wide with disbelief. The number was staggering. He looked up at Arthur, speechless, tears welling in his eyes. He didn't see a cynical millionaire. He saw a man whose cold exterior had just shattered. "Sir, I don't know what to say," Leo stammered. "You don't have to say anything," Arthur replied, a genuine, unforced smile gracing his lips for the first time in a long, long time. He stood up to leave, feeling lighter than he had in years. As he walked out of the restaurant, he didn't feel the smug satisfaction of winning a cruel game. Instead, he felt a profound sense of humility and a strange, unfamiliar joy. The joke was on him. It set out to test a waiter's character, but in the end, it was his own that had been put on trial and found wanting. Leo, with his simple act of kindness, had held up a mirror to Arthur's soul. And for the first time, Arthur didn't like the man he saw. He also saw the man he could become. That day, Arthur Vance didn't just leave a tip, left behind the bitter, cynical man he had been. He walked out into the sunlight a different person, broken open not by failure, but by the unexpected power of a good heart. And for Leo, it wasn't just about the money. It was the affirmation that in a world that often felt cold and transactional, kindness was still the most valuable currency of all. A simple act of compassion had created a ripple that changed lives forever. The story of Arthur and Leo reminds us that true wealth isn't measured by the numbers in a bank account, but by the richness of our spirit. It teaches us that everyone we meet is fighting a battle we know nothing about, and a little bit of kindness can be the light that guides them through the dark. It challenges us to look beyond our own cynical games and see the humanity in others. Because sometimes the greatest lessons come from the most unexpected teachers. And sometimes the person you set out to break is the one who ends up fixing you. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that inspires.